I thought blowing the transmission on my Ferrari 360 was the worst possible thing that could happen to this car. Turns out it was the one thing that saved this car from destruction. In the last episode, we rebuilt the transmission with new internals, and we pulled the engine out so we could flush the gear oil out of everything. But if this engine's going to survive, we need to take the term while you're in there to extreme levels. So today we're tearing everything down on the engine block and rebuilding it back to factory spec, and by the end of this episode, it'll be back in the car. The first thing we need to do is get this engine on a stand. So I pulled the studs from the block and bolted up the stand adapter. And honestly, this is always one of the sketchiest parts of doing this at home. I've never found a way to swap it from the hoist to the stand without it feeling slightly wrong. My move, I rest one leg of the stand onto the hoist leg and I lower it down. Then I jack the stand up and slide the hoist out. It works, but if you've got a better way, drop it down in the comments. With the engine finally secure, I pulled the passenger header and removed the alternator. There's no sense in pressure washing that. Then I taped off every open port, and for the connectors still in the car, I sandwich bag them and I zip tie them. It's simple, but it works. And with everything sealed up, it was time for the bath. I started with just water, and because the block is aluminum, it's always satisfying to watch the grime disappear. I added some Dawn dish soap into the coolant ports, thinking it would flush it out easily. It did not. I spent 3, maybe 4 hours flushing this thing, and the gear oil just kept coming out. I even went to my hot water heater and ran some hot water through the ports. Still, more sludge kept coming out. Eventually, I got most of it out. So I took my leaf blower and some compressed air and I gave it a really good dry off. The transformation was incredible. The aluminum was clean, bright, it looked almost new. But next up, we're gonna get these coil packs out, partly to check the spark plugs, but mostly so I could rotate the engine to top dead center. The plugs weren't terrible, but they were definitely crusty. You can tell this car has sat a long time. There was oil on them, which makes sense considering the cam covers have been leaking and the engine was upside down while I was cleaning it. When I pulled the timing covers off, my stomach dropped. And at the same time, I felt relieved. The timing belt was hanging on by a thread. The tensioners were fully maxed out. This timing belt wasn't just worn, it was ready to snap. But next up, we had the cam covers. They were leaking, but more importantly, removing them gives us access to the factory timing marks. And if we're doing this, we're doing it perfectly. And this is where pulling the engine pays off. With it out of the car, instead of locking up the flywheel and doing all that, I can just use an air impact on the crank bolt, and bam, it's off. With the engine at top dead center, I locked the cams. But because the belt was so stretched, I had to compress the tensioner just to get the locking pin in. And once it was pinned, the belt slipped off. But this is where things get a little nerve-wracking. This isn't just a lock and swap because I have to replace the cam seals. So that means the cam gears have to come off. I lubed the new seals, I pressed it in carefully, and I reinstalled the cam gear with all the timing marks lined up. With that, I could slip the belt on and roughly set the tension of the belt. First side, done. But then I made a mistake. The moment I pulled the belt, both cams snapped out of time. So I made some new marks, I pulled the cams, replaced the seals, and then I used the factory marks that are on the actual camshafts and an old belt to spin the cams back into place, and I locked them. Once I had both belts on, it was time to actually set the tension of these belts. Setting the tension on these old timing belts is kind of complicated. You have to have 3 things correct for it to be set perfectly according to the manual. The first one is when you set the tension, you want the pin to slide in and out of the tensioner freely. The second one is you want the actual tension of the belt to be within a certain frequency range. And the last one is you need a certain gap on the actual tensioner body. But for me, when I was doing this, I can only get 2. I could get the pin to slide in and out freely, and I could get the frequency of the belt within spec, but I could not get the gap on the tensioner to be right. Something was definitely wrong. So I took a step back. I sat in my thinking chair, I ate some brain food, because forcing this probably ends very poorly. After thinking about it for a while, I think the problem might be the pin that I'm using is too thick, so it's causing me to put too much preload on the actual bearing instead of using more of the tensioner. So we're gonna get some tools from Harbor Freight to see if we can figure this out. I grabbed a set of tiny Allen keys and I reset the tension. Pin slides freely. Frequency, perfect. Gap, also perfect. And then came arguably the worst part of this entire process. Scraping old gaskets off of aluminum. You can't use a razor blade, it'll gouge the surface. So you use plastic. It works slowly and it dulls fast. It's the kind of job I'd only wish on my worst enemy. Once everything was finally clean, we started putting it back together. new spark plugs, a small dab of RTV in the cam corners, fresh gaskets in place, and the covers went back on. Everything got torqued to spec, but now we moved down low. I pulled the front main seal and got a new one back in, and I put the alternator back on. And since we're this deep, I checked the motor mounts. They weren't collapsed, but they were definitely blown, so we replaced those too. I also got a new thermostat in with fresh seals, and at this point, we were getting close. It was finally time to pull the engine off the stand. This time, I was going to try the method you guys suggested by coming in from the back. But of course, the stand legs were too wide, so we went back to the old sketchy method. And just like that, the engine was off the stand. But we're not finished yet. Next up was the housing that holds the rear main seal. I pulled it off, and first I tried knocking the seal out. Then I tried drilling it. I even bolted the housing back on to pry against it, and that's when one of the straps actually cracked one of the coil packs. So I went back to the hammer, and eventually it came out completely destroyed. The new housing gasket went on, and I bolted on the housing, and then it was time to press the new rear main seal in. Except I made a mistake here. I didn't have the old seal to protect it while I was pressing it in since it was damaged so badly, and I dented it. There's no world where this is gonna actually seal. But luckily I caught this because I also forgot to trim the bottom of the housing gasket, so both came back off. I got a new gasket on there, a new rear main seal, and this time I used the old seal to protect it. And this is where I'm super grateful for the community that we built here, because it's one of your guys' comments that actually saved me a ton of hassle. I was scrolling through the comments when I saw one about the thermostat not sealing properly. I thought it actually might be a troll, but after researching on the forums, it's 100% accurate. So I pulled it back off. Unfortunately, my old original seal was way too far gone, so I put a thin bead of RTV on the housing, and hopefully that's the last time I have to touch it. Lastly, I wedged a crowbar on the crank and I tightened the crank pulley bolt to spec. But since we're on the topic of your guys' support, now would be a great time to show you guys another way that you can support me. Obviously, I don't have any sponsors on this channel and you don't really get any ads in my videos, but I am always wearing my Nostalgia Spec hat. We now have these Nostalgia Spec hats live on my website, and I spent the last few months designing them myself because in my eyes, nostalgia is powerful. Nostalgia is the reason why we spend all this time and money on all these old stinky cars, to fulfill all those promises we made to ourselves when we were naive and young. There's no obligation, but if you want to support the channel, make sure you go to chefjoni.us and grab yourself a hat. And now it's time for this thing to go back in. When I pulled it out, I knew getting it back in would be a battle. But if I could get it out, I could get it back in. But I was already nervous. I didn't set it perfectly on the hoist. It was favoring one side. I lifted it up and I brought it right to the rear brace. I made sure I had the jack positioned underneath and everything was ready. I've seen this go wrong too many times on the internet. And after everything we've done, this is not where I want to mess up. I went slow, I cleared the rear brace, and I knew that was the easy part. But now came for the hard part. I had to transfer it from the hoist to the jack without hurting myself or the engine. And the further I lowered it, the more I realized how much harder I'd made this by not centering it. I lowered it carefully. There was no headers on this time, so I had just a little bit more room. And then came my greatest engineering achievement, the factory spec 2x4. Actually, 2 of them. I started jacking it up and immediately the tilt started fighting me. But I was committed. I made the transfer, but then I quickly realized the chain was jammed. I couldn't get the hoist off of it. I couldn't lower it and I couldn't let go. But I had just enough slack to unwrap the strap from the engine and I freed it. And then slowly, carefully, I pushed and wiggled the mounts into place. And finally, it was home, resting in its spot, ready to come alive again.
By the sea, finding out what this life could be. Well, I took my turn and I felt the burn. Now I'm banged up and on my knees.